Welcome, everyone. It's an exciting week. We had our first football game of the season last week and are headed into a great in-state rivalry this weekend. We've got some great content coming up for you. We'll recap the football game from last week against Gardner Webb, talk about a few of the other sports going on for kicking off fall season, and then dive into App State. I'm excited, so let's just dive into it. Scott, what were your thoughts about our game against Gardner Webb?
It was somewhat predictable. I know we were expecting the unexpected when we did our preview, but if you go back to the videotape, I was pretty close on. I said the 54 was a lock with the over, and that we probably wouldn't cover the 31.5, which it all kind of fell that way. I thought we looked really good. It looks like special teams potentially could be an issue again, kind of like last year. I remember giving up some big returns, but we answered after giving up that big return with a big punt block return for a touchdown. So they really evened themselves out from a special teams perspective, which was nice. From a quarterback perspective, you were correct initially with Keene getting on the field as the starter, but Chris Reynolds really came in there and kind of became the guy that gets 2/3 of the playing time in that two-starter option. And I got a hot take on that, or a take on that in general is, I know it's one game, but let's let Chris Reynolds roll as the quarterback. The offense looked real good with him in there. I think there was moments otherwise, but I think he looked like he really had control of the offense, and I liked what he did out there.
Somehow I knew you were going to go straight to that and try and take credit for saying Chris Reynolds the guy. I don't think there's any way in the world we have just one quarterback running out in any of our first several games. Now, eventually we may get to the point where one is so far over the other one that it just doesn't make sense to have a two-quarterback set. But, Healy tells the media, tells other teams, he tells everybody he's going to have two quarterbacks. So despite what you think about Chris Reynolds, I think Brett Keene's still going to get playing time, especially this week when it's still just week 2. And I also think it's a little unfair judgment. So we saw the first 2 series were handoff, punt. So that can't really judge Keene for that. And then second series, handoff, pass on third down, which is also kind of back against the wall. And I think that was a little bit more about the coaches settling in and getting used to the season and getting fired up and figuring out what play calling was going to work against them, and less on Keene was having trouble running the offense. It's not like he had a real chance there. All in all, I thought they both did good. I will agree. I liked the offense better under Chris Reynolds with that run-pass option ability that he has. He had some great runs, but Keene also had a few runs too. So it's hard to say right now who I think long-term should be the 2/3 starter. I knew you were going to jump on it and say Reynolds all the way, and Reynolds did have a solid group of games last year before he got hurt, so I'm totally cool with that being the answer, but I'm also down to keep an open mind for the next game or two as well.
Yeah, Keene had some runs. He had 2 runs for 12 yards. Reynolds had 7 runs for 72 yards. Big difference there. Again, I'm not hating on Keene. I think, you're right, it could have been play calling. It could have been jitters on his part too, because towards the end of the game in the third quarter when they brought him in, he did throw a nice bomb that I don't know if Reynolds necessarily is capable of throwing.
And if we really want to dive into who was right last week, but when we previewed the season, I think I said that Reynolds was a great RPO guy and was going to get runs, and Keene was going to be the more true pocket passer, which is exactly what we saw. Keene in on the pure handoffs, not trying to do anything fancy, and on the deep balls. And I did see Keene put it on the money on a few 20-plus yard throws that Reynolds didn't necessarily show that clean ability to hit somebody in stride. One, Reynolds had a great opportunity and threw it just to the left of the receiver where he had to completely adjust his route and missed it. So they both offer their own unique skill set, and the other one may grow into gathering some of their abilities. But, they're both Niners, so I'm happy with both of them doing good and both of them getting playing time.
Sure. And I don't want to, put all the conversation on the quarterbacks. I think it's important to also say that we're both right, and Conference USA is right, and predictable. Benny LeMay, great game, had one really nice 60-plus yard run for a touchdown. And Alex Highsmith had 7 tackles, and I think he had 2 sacks, maybe 1 sack and an assist. So he was getting to the quarterback doing his thing as well.
He had 2 sacks.
2 sacks.
For -8 yards, which is awesome. And in general, I think we averaged 18 sacks, or not average, but had 18 sacks last season. Already started off the year with 5 sacks as a team, which is awesome. And I would say, Benny is an obvious standout. He's going to have a great season. But what I really liked was seeing Ishod Finger, third-string running back, come in and get some yards. He had 9 attempts, 70 yards. He's little. He's feisty. He fit through holes. He looked kind of like that, who's a good NFL comparison, small, quick guy. Who am I thinking of? The Phillies guy who was always...
Oh, yeah. Well, I was actually thinking of Cohen.
Tariq, yeah, that's fair. Same type of thing there.
Sproles,
Darren Sproles, thank you. But I really liked what I saw from him. And on the receiving side of things, I think everybody expected Vicar Tucker to come in and have a big game, and he was held to not near as much as we were expecting. 1 reception, 11 yards versus Cameron Dollar getting 5 receptions and 58 yards.
I really like Noah Henderson, the freshman out of Tennessee, really having a nice game for first college game ever. 5 catches, 49 yards, and they were big catches early in the game when it seemed like our offense wasn't quite clicking yet. He was part of that kind of Chris Reynolds run where we had the 3 consecutive touchdown drives.
And then let's not forget Jonathan Cruz going perfect for the night, which we totally expected. So
yeah,
all in all,
but those were just extra points. I'm looking forward, which I expect to see at App, just like he did last year, to see him kick some, 45-yard bombs. But I'm cool with him just kicking extra points for sure. No problems with that. That means we're getting in the end zone.
Yep. And all in all, I think we saw exactly what we were hoping to see from a Will Hilly team. I thought we kicked off the air well. We got 49 points, which is a good omen for life. And we let an FCS team score 28 points. But if you really look at the game and aren't just looking at the box score, 28 points, one of them was a kickoff return for a touchdown. That's something you can clean up and get your special teams coverage right. And then the other one was an interception on like the 15-yard line.
There was 2 picks.
Super short.
There was 2 turnovers that put them in good field position, and then the last one was towards the end of the game during garbage time.
Yeah, I give our defense 1 touchdown that they gave up legitimately, and like you said, it was during garbage time towards the end of the game. So box score-wise, doesn't look as good as how I felt the game went on, and I hope everybody who came to the game felt good about it.
It was good energy, lots of people in the house, and, we did get to see a lot of Will Healy, even at the end. The very end. If you haven't seen that on Instagram yet, it kind of got trending. And Will Healy definitely has a younger celebration than maybe Mac Brown does with the Tar Heels. You can see both of those on Minor Obsession's Twitter.
And then in general, we had a great open to the season for all of our sports, especially when you consider Gardner Webb coming into town. So in-state rival, I guess I call him a rival.
I feel bad for Gardner Webb. We swept him over the weekend. So we started with football, then we had a very early volleyball game at 10 in the morning, and then we beat them in men's soccer. So that's a 3-0, obviously football and soccer.
It's technically 4-0. I believe volleyball played them twice in the tournament. It was the Charlotte Invitational. So.
Got it.
So even better, right?
Yeah.
But while we're on that topic, women's volleyball, Charlotte Invitational hosting the Invitational and coming out with a W there, went undefeated during that series. So great start to the season for them. They did recently post a loss against Duke, went away to play them. So they're 3-1 right now. So that's a great start there.
You gotta love having an Invitational and taking it home, inviting everyone over your house to beat them up. I do enjoy that. Also, if you haven't checked out the volleyball Twitter, Instagram, social media, they have a really cool hype video, a little 1-minute hype video. It got me pretty fired up for the volleyball season. I think that came out right around the football game as well.
Yep. And they've got a group of games coming up with several invitationals and a few games in between. So we've got the Bowling Green Invitational coming up over in Bowling Green. So they'll be away for that. Then they're headed to South Carolina, and then they've got the Charm City Invitational. So a couple groups of good games with some good opponents coming up that hopefully they can keep the momentum rolling and stick with that good record. Women's soccer, too, starting off the season strong, 2-1. We've just posted a loss against Wake Forest, but started the season with a win against Akron and Longwood, both away games. So it's tough to start the season. Back-to-back away games, came out with W's there, and then hosted Wake Forest at home and lost 3-0.
And then men's soccer beat Gardner Webb, continued to move up in the rankings. I know they started at 21. They're up to 17. And now there's a big game. If you're listening to this today on Friday, you should go to the game. It's a big one. We're playing number 12 in the country at Transamerica Field. I believe it's at 7 o'clock.
Yep. Coastal Carolina.
Coastal Carolina.
7 o'clock on the dot. So Transamerica Field's going to be rocking, hopefully. That's a good top 25 matchup against both of them. And at home, the men's soccer team in regular season has not given up a goal since 2017.
Wow.
So hopefully we keep that run going. We did give up a goal last postseason, but, I'm okay with that. Let's keep the run going. Let's shut out Coastal Carolina, climb up the ranks even higher this weekend.
And for those of you not aware, with football, obviously, they started serving beer and wine. They are also doing that for soccer. So you can go to the soccer game and get yourself a beer and bring it to the stands as well. So just another cool feature in the Mike Hill era that makes all of our sports a little bit more fun to go out and enjoy.
So just so everyone knows, with the season starting up, we started at the end of last season, so we missed most of the fall sports season. But there's a lot to talk about, and moving forward, you can expect to see a weekly episode of all fall sports and then special game day content for football. So we're excited to dive into a really robust amount of content so that we can give anybody who's a fan of any different sport that the Charlotte 49ers play a little taste of updates and interviews along the way.
Well said. So with all of that, we talked about kind of what's happening and what happened. Let's get into what everyone's ready for, the meat and potatoes, the big game, redemption game, the school that we don't like that's in the mountains. It's App versus Charlotte. Sean, are you fired up?
I'm fired up. I'm ready. I'm ready to get out there and go root hard. Hopefully there's going to be a good showing of Niner fans. It's only an hour and a half, 2 hours up the road, depending on where you live in town. So no real excuse to miss this away game, right?
Absolutely. And if you went last year at Charlotte, you saw it was probably the fullest game we've had since the first game ever. They had to bring in extra seats. It was a pretty good atmosphere counting out us losing. But the first half, we looked pretty good. Cruz was making long kicks. And then the second half just kind of got away from us.
Yep. Yeah, and I think people are coming into this one with the expectation App's the established program. They've been FBS a year extra than we have, yada, yada, yada. But, in my mind, are they the favorite? Sure, why not? But we both have new coaches. We've got Will Healy. They've got, I believe his name's Eli. I like to call him Dorkowitz. But, we'll see how good of a coach he is. But right now, all we know is Charlotte's 1-0 with the Will Healy era. App State's 1-0 with the Eli Drinkowitz era, or Dinkowitz. And we both played FCS opponents, so I don't think there's a very easy comparison of here's how we expect to see the game go. We scored 49 points last week. They scored 42. We gave up 28, but we just talked about the miscues that are easy to clean up that could have easily made that score a lot lower. They allowed 7. And offensive statistic-wise, looked fairly similar. So it's one of those early in the season games where lines get set, people's minds get made up just on last season and what happened last season, but I don't think it's fair to say we don't have a fighting shot in this one.
Sure. So let's talk about the lines and kind of go from there so people understand the disrespect that Vegas is giving us. So similar to last week, where it kind of moved around the over-under from 52 to 54. This one's right in the middle at 53.5, the over-under. And the actual spread is app favored by 21.5. So that means Vegas is saying they're going to beat us by more than 3 touchdowns.
Yep. Yeah, and just some good statistics here. A lot of money coming in on the under. People are thinking we're not going to score that much between the two teams, I guess. So 79% of the tickets right now on the under. And then, like we probably expect to see, 60-ish% of the tickets coming in on App State at the minus 21, but it's fluctuated. It was minus 22 for a minute, minus 21 for a minute, so there's some movement plus and minus on both directions there with money coming in.
I would say an under is kind of what I'm leaning towards as well, and I think an under is favorable for us. I think
agree,
if you
yeah.
go over, that means they might run us out of the building. So I'm hoping and expecting an under 50. Honestly, probably under 45 even. I expect a really tough game from our defense, and I thought they looked very tough last year against App with most people returning in the first half. And then it kind of got away between special teams, returns, and the offense not really giving the defense time to rest or giving them better field position. So I think it really depends. The X factor of this game is our offense. Can the offense put up some points? Can the offense at least move the chains and get some time of possession going in this game? Because we really need to let the defense rest. Like you mentioned earlier, defense looked good last week against Gardner Webb. That 28 points is not indicative of them. We just need to manage the ball. No turnovers on offense. We had 3 costly interceptions. One, I blame it on the quarterback too, that were miscues. Maybe the wide receivers should have fought a little bit more on those. But I think, like you said, those are very easy to improve. And then we just need to get our coverage well. We should not be letting any returns go by. Let them beat our defense. Don't let them beat our special teams. 2 things I want to point out on App, though. Cameron Peoples, their star running back, tore his ACL last week. So he's out for the season. And Corey Sutton, their wide receiver, he's suspended. So he won't be playing either. So those are 2 key components of their offense that aren't going to be out there, which, I don't wish injuries on anybody, but that could be helpful for Charlotte.
It could be, yep. And another thing of note, too, App State's on, if you go back to last season, a 7-game winning streak. So they're due for a loss to come into the books, and I think we're keen to hand them one. I would agree. I think that, in my mind, controlling the ball is definitely the way to win this game. We had 322 rushing yards last week. I'd look for us to stick to that type of number and try and mix the run game up between Reynolds, Keene, and our running backs, maybe even get some wide receivers in on some end-around stuff like that, just to make sure we keep moving the chains and control the ball and the tempo of the game. I think if it stays under, like you said, we stay close enough to potentially cover the spread and maybe steal one.
Yeah. So, hopefully everyone's going out there. Sean, we talked about the spread, which is excessive. What's your pick? What's your score? What are you telling the people?
My score, I'm going with 21-28 Charlotte.
Wow. That's aggressive.
It's aggressive.
I appreciate that.
I didn't start a podcast with you to not think Charlotte was going to win. In my mind, Charlotte could win everything. All you have to do is play the right game.
I agree, but I think your score is completely off.
Oh, yeah?
Respectfully.
Yep.
I see the score as Charlotte winning 19-13. I see a lot of cruise field goals.
Yeah.
A lot of cruise field goals. I see a lot of time of possession with stalled drives, big points getting put on the board, defense really bending but not breaking, and just a slow, kind of boring game with a lot of field goals. Way under that, and a total Charlotte lock to cover the 21.5. I think the under and the Charlotte cover is my stone cold locks for sure.
Guaranteed.
Feel very confident about them.
Then if you want to get a little fancy, take the money line on Charlotte.
The money line is nice. We don't have to get into all those specifics, but it is a plus 1,000 money line. So that's a 10-1 on your money. So if you put $100 on Charlotte, you'd win $1,000 if you bet the money line.
Well, all right.
I
don't gamble, but
yeah.
if I was, I like those odds.
But yes, if you want to get fancy with it, again, I'm a homer. I'm predicting this with my heart, which is green, and also my hate for app. So the combination definitely puts me there. I hope we win, but I definitely think the under and the Charlotte cover 21.5. I think way too many points, similar to Gardner Webb, right? Gave them respect, and I said there's no way we're going to beat them by 32. I don't think app beats us by 21.5.
Well, that's what I was going to say. So we're 1-0 on the season in terms of picking games. Now, technically, we got 3 right. Charlotte win, Gardner Webb cover, and the over. So there's no reason not to trust us right now, right?
Yeah. We're on a hot streak, baby. It'll be interesting to see how the team does on the road with the noise. I think App will be loud and proud. It should be a fun game. I'm excited about it, and I think this will definitely be the first real test of the Will Healy era. If we could be competitive and do something nice, I think there's a lot of excitement here in Charlotte. Really fun game to come back to the following week. And then we've got the number 1 ranked team in the country at Clemson. And we can't wait to talk about all of that on upcoming episodes of the greatest podcast in Charlotte 49er history, Minor Obsession.
Yeah, I love it. This is the perfect time of year.
Yep.
It's amazing. And if you want to interact with us on social media, feel free to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We're minor_obsession on all of that. Got any thoughts and want to email us? That's minorobsession49@gmail.com. And I think we've covered it all. So hopefully we're talking to you again later this week after a great Charlotte victory over App State.
Yeah.
But until then,
wear green, get hyped up. Hopefully you're listening to this right now in your office, or you're listening to it on the road to Boone, because it's going to be a nice, quick ride there and a nice, slow ride home, because we're getting that W, baby. Wear green,